Hey everybody, today I'm going to be reviewing Godzilla, or I'm sorry, as Ken Watanabe likes to say, Godzilla. This is directed by Gareth Edwards, who I think said that he wanted this movie to be more of a well-made monster movie, not quite like the one that we saw by Roland Emmerich back in the 90s, which is one of the cinematic greats, if I do say so myself. Yeah, I mean, he was going more, I think, for the traditional films, like the old blockbusters like Jaws and Alien, where the characters themselves are more the centerpiece, and you're allowing the tension to build, and you're not seeing the monster right away. So I really do appreciate that notion, but I didn't really get that from this movie. I didn't see this movie as something that was trying to go for the style of those like 1970s, late 70s blockbuster movies and early 80s. I saw this more as like a Roland Emmerich movie, but much more intelligent, if that makes sense. But let me talk about the good things first. There were some very good things about this movie. I love the fact that the characters, I mean, everything about it feels very immersive. And the characters really do feel like they're just a bunch of people pulled together because of dire circumstances, and they're just trying to figure out a way to make everybody safe, to get themselves out of this situation. So in that way, it felt very realistic. It's not quite as stereotypical or cartoony as a Roland Emmerich movie. With his movies, he always has these very, very cut and dry, black and white stereotypes. Like, you always have the gruff military stereotype. My personal favorite is like in The Day After Tomorrow. They have that, the very stern, stuffy political figure who is going against Dennis Quaid's character and being like the establishment that says, you can't do that. And of course, I mean, I don't even remember that character's name, but I'm just going to call him Dick Cheney because that's basically who he's supposed to be. Wink, wink. I mean, Roland Emmerich is not subtle. So the acting, overall was really good. I mean, everybody made the film feel very real, with the exception of Ken Watanabe, who, again, like, he says Godzilla like it's trailer fuel or something, and every single time, I mean, his face is just all the time. That's his face. I also think the movie is beautiful to look at. It's extremely well made, and in terms of just the photography and everything, I mean, it is a feast for the eyes. There were a few moments that I was very moved by. I thought, this is good filmmaking. Number one being the scene where they're on the train tracks, where the main character he's like laying on train tracks trying to, avoid as the creature is going underneath, and it's got a wonderful kind of brooding, paranoid feeling, which is really tense, and it reminded me a lot of Jurassic Park, the scene where the kids are in the car and the dinosaurs just kind of feeling them out, and it's scary. It's very scary. Those are moments that I think are much more effective than, lots of explosions and things like that, because I do feel that charisma, well, not charisma, but, that very terrifying sense that this is a creature and a monster that is out to kill you. Loved that. And the other moment that I loved was, of course, the 2001 A Space Odyssey reference, because I swear to God, that's all we are seeing lately is 2001 references. It's becoming more and more culturally relevant. First Mad Men over and over in this last season, and now with this movie. It's the scene where the main character is jumping down into the ruins of the city, and you hear that choral contemporary piece of music that you hear in 2001 with the voices being very haunting and the I love that tie-in, because in this 2001 it's sort of symbolizing this next step in evolution, whether it's nature or man or the two clashing. With this movie, I think that really worked, and I just remember sitting there just being like, oh, and I got chills. That was very, very cool. But my problem with this movie comes from two very big areas. The first is, okay, well, I'll just say that when I think of Godzilla, I think of what he represents as it's a mammoth, as this big thing that we need to confront. Just a sense of paranoia going on, whether it's a paranoia of, humanity being survival of the fittest, paranoid through environmental issues, nature, whether it's through war, politics. All of those things are kind of embodied. That's what, in Godzilla, that's what he symbolizes. And you do see that in the imagery, and you have through all kinds of different monster movies, you know, with like Atomic Bomb, Iwo Jima. I'm trying to think, oh yeah, like, well, more culturally relevant for us today would be you do see a lot of imagery that reminds us of 9/11, the Iraq War, all of these things. And I think that's great because it makes the film feel more like it's saying something else. It's trying to be more than just a monster movie. Great. But I wanted to see more of that embodied in the characters. And you do sort of get that sense. Like, you know, for instance, Bryan Cranston and his son. These are two characters that are torn between, you know, serving their country and being with their families. And that's something we can all relate to. I get that. And, you know, the main character, also the son, you know, he's in the military. That I get that. But I just wanted to see more of that in the writing. Just in the script, I wanted to see, you know, getting us to think a little bit more and getting us to reflect on our own world. That's what I like in movies just in general. And just because you're a blockbuster does not mean you don't have to think. With these characters, there's nobody here that's that interesting with the exception of Bryan Cranston's character and his son. I just didn't feel like any of them had any distinguishable characteristics. When you think about these characters, you can't describe them. They're just a bunch of characters that are screaming and yelling most of the time. And for a movie that's trying to be more about the characters and trying to develop them, I got very little of that. Also, when the director is saying that, you know, he wants to make a movie where the big reveal doesn't happen until later in the movie, that it kind of gradually builds towards that, I didn't get that either. I feel like I feel like Godzilla was revealed way too early in the movie, and there was just too much going on for me to care by the end of it. I didn't feel an arc or a sense of tension building. And I feel like that's what makes a movie really good. By the end of the movie, when they get to that very big, you know, fight sequence at the end, I found myself kind of trailing off. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it looks beautiful. The special effects are spectacular. But when that's all you're seeing all the time, you just kind of become desensitized to it. And I found myself kind of trailing off and thinking about other things. And I was like, oh, whoa, sorry, I'm watching the movie. Focus. And I don't think that's something you want, especially from a blockbuster movie. So when you're revealing all your bag of tricks, you know, throughout the movie and, you know, just all the time consistently, there's no chance for that arc, and it felt kind of chaotic to me. Maybe I'm old school, but I think especially Hollywood movies, blockbusters, need that arc and that payoff for them to work, for me to enjoy them personally. So I can't quite recommend this movie. Again, you know, I'm a character person. For people that are character people, don't see this movie. I would kind of skip it because there really isn't any. If you like monsters and you just like epic special effects, oh, go see it, absolutely. By all means, you're gonna love it. But for somebody like me, it's just not really my cup of tea. But anyway, that is my review for Godzilla. Thank you all for watching. Please follow me on Twitter. The link is below, and I'll catch you next time.